My experimental bed of greens was turning out to be a success. I had several greens flourishing, packed side by side. Having sown during winter inside the cold frame had been a great idea. As the weather warmed up, they exploded in growth since they had invested time and resources already in building a strong root system to support foliar growth. This would provide large, beautiful, and plentiful salad, while other gardeners were still planting their small store-bought starts. The arugula was starting to flower already, but some other greens were just babies, and others were in their prime. I'm absolutely astonished by the growth of one of the lettuces here. I sowed it in winter, and actually now it's when it's developed fully, and I have not actually fertilized except for mulching. I haven't done any other type of fertilizer in this bed, and it's grown. It's so beautiful that I almost don't want to harvest it, but let's take a look. Indeed, this head of lettuce looked picture perfect. It had nice, well-formed, symmetrical leaves in a compact form. It had to compete with the neighboring escaroles for its place in the sun, and had clearly staked out its claim. I had not paid close attention to it before it had already established itself, so it was a surprise to find it so beautiful while surveying the garden. I decided to harvest it by taking the whole head, because I felt it would be better for the plants around it. While I could slowly harvest the leaves from the outside in, and that way potentially get it to produce more, I decided that in this case, by removing the entire plant, I'll give a better chance for the other greens around it to grow as well as it had. I mean, this lettuce must have gotten its nitrogen from somewhere, and I think it's the soil biology. That's what's been creating the nutrients, or fixing the nutrients for it to use. This doesn't happen in poor soil, in dead soil. This only happens in living soil, and actually forests are much like this. We only need fertilizers once we kill the soil. The vigor this plant displayed testified that it certainly had received all it needed to grow despite the stress of competition. There is competition in nature, that is true. Nature is not all about cooperation and kumbaya circles. Nature can be cruel at times, but not always. Things can coexist in equilibrium, each part taking what it needs, and sometimes serving as support for the other. But nature is almost always abundant if you learn to work with it. Another aspect of abundance in nature is beauty. Nature is abundantly beautiful. It is able to clothe the most humble of its members in distinguished beauty. If you look closely at it and remove conditioned notions, there is no reason why a well-formed lettuce would not be less beautiful than a rose. I harvested some chive flowers because I wanted to savor the beauty of this lettuce right in the spot. Chive flowers pack a punch of flavor, and if you have not tried incorporating a few of them in your salads, you should. I washed the lettuce head in cool water and went about preparing a simple yet delicious dressing. In a small molcajete, I crushed the chive flowers to release the fragrant scent. I then dropped the flesh of a few Kalamata olives to create a sort of tapenade. I added a touch more salt because I feel like salt is what makes the natural subtle flavor of lettuce come to life. Summer invites new fireflies, lighting in flickers the bosom of night. Children in white stare at the sky, running in circles, their dreams are denied. Once the mixture was well ground into a paste, I scraped the pestle to make sure not to waste any of the flavorful mix. I added some olive oil and white rice vinegar and mixed everything. Then I got some of the washed leaves and put them on a plate to drizzle the tapenade dressing over them. Autumn brings forth old lullabies. all their fears realized, all their hopes sag inside, waiting for change. This may be a simple dressing recipe, but it certainly is flavorful. I've always liked lettuce ever since I was a kid. Eating homegrown lettuce just brings the experience to a new level. This certainly was a great harvest, and it marked one of the many to come this year. I was pleased with how things were coming along. Coming up in the next block, I will share an extra update of how the arugula next to the lettuce and kale was doing, right after this commercial. If you enjoy the videos and would like to support the channel, you can purchase an original painting or drawing in my Etsy shop, or become a patron in my Patreon. This arugula has really grown by leaps and bounds. It's incredible what the weather can do in just a few weeks. And it's actually still very sweet, not very spicy. But today is a very warm day, and I gotta take advantage of it before the mosquitoes descend and start to suck our blood. It's one of those few rare spring days before the mosquitoes awaken where you have summer temperatures. So gotta take advantage of that. What I want to do is sow these again, because I'm sure that in just a few weeks they're going to be fully grown like these and starting to flower, and that way I'll have a continuous supply of arugula. But before that, let me enjoy it. Arugula is a very fast-growing vegetable. It prefers cool temperatures in the 50s and 60s. When the weather gets too hot, it tends to get very pungent. I heard that if you plant it before the summer solstice, it will have a tendency to bolt faster than if you plant it after that. I haven't verified if this is true. One thing some people may not know is that you can actually eat the flowers of arugula. It tastes very nice and it has that arugula flavor, but it has a sweet overtone. You should try it. I still think it is best to plant it in small batches every 2 weeks so as to have a continuous harvest. Arugula is a wonderful green. Some people find it too intense, and it can be. It is not a timid wallflower. It does pack a punch, but in my opinion, it is one of the tastiest greens out there. If you do let some of your arugula flower, you get not only to discover a new facet of the plant, but you also get a chance to save some seeds. Besides, I think it looks rather nice. Another salad green that has beautiful, albeit ephemeral flowers is chicory or escarole. It produces majestic blue daisy inflorescences. Unfortunately, they only open during the morning hours and don't last long, but they sure make an impact when planted en masse. In fact, you can see along roadsides in mid-spring beautiful swaths of this royal hue that happen to be wild chicory flowering. If you have a bit of extra space, I encourage you to allow some of your veggies to flower. They do provide a spectacle, but most importantly serve as a source of nectar to native pollinators that need all the help we can give them. While these flowers don't last too long, the image they cast in your memory does. There is just something distinguished about blue flowers that other hues just don't have. Maybe it is because these flowers mirror the blue of the sky, a rather intangible color in nature. But besides having beautiful flowers in your garden, letting veggies flower will provide you with the opportunity to save your own seed, and that means you become more free and generous with that seed. You get to experiment broadcasting it about without being too precious with it.